Hey, everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, July the 25th. This is an important week because there's going to be a new moon on the 28th. And these 4 or 5 days, especially before a new moon, is a winding down time, a wrapping up, bringing closure to what the previous new moon was promoting, inspiring within you. You don't want to make any important new decisions until after the new moon, because just prior to the new moon, the energy is winding down. You want to do any important new projects, starting a new job after the new moon, because the energy is ramping up. But let's start with Monday. The moon will be void of course in Gemini. Gemini, you could be really distracted, unfocused, especially with that void from about 1:15 a.m. Pacific time until 10:55 a.m. Pacific time, at which point the moon that sets the public tone will go into emotional, reflective, nurturing Cancer for those next 2.5 days. So on Tuesday, with the moon continuing in domestic, nurturing Cancer, around 8 a.m., 10 a.m. Pacific time, the moon will be crossing pleasure-seeking, loving Venus. Now, that might be too earlier in the day if you're on the west coast of the United States, but later in New York, in Europe, that moon Venus once a month is this strong need to bond, to socialize, to express your loving feelings. And Mercury, communication discerning Mercury, on Tuesday will be forming a 90-degree angle or a square, an angle of tension to impatient Mars. Mercury, Mars, you got to be careful because you could be making a lot of impulsive decisions. Mercury is the decision, Mars is the impulsiveness. In some cases, you could be so restless, anxious, impulsive, you could have an accident or an injury. That's the Mars, because Mars is the warrior planet and can be dealing with accidents. But that Mercury is the mind, and the Mars is going to be, the mind is going to be really heated up. And so it's just energy. You don't want to be a victim of the energy. You want to channel it. So this would be a really favorable day to do a lot of physical work, a lot of exercising to keep the body centered. And maybe especially with yoga, where you're centering the mind and you're centering the body, then the positive of Mercury Mars can be that a lot of brainstorming, a lot of learning and communicating. On Wednesday, the moon in nurturing Cancer will be in harmony with empathetic, compassionate Neptune mid-afternoon Pacific time. By 5:54 p.m. Pacific time, the moon will go void of course until 11:37 p.m. Pacific time, at which point it goes from more reflective Cancer to extroverted, dynamic Leo, because on the 28th, Thursday the 28th, will be the new moon. And now you can start making plans for the next lunar cycle. This new moon is going to be very favorable throughout the world because it's going to be impacted very favorably by fortunate, expansive Jupiter. But this makes sense because it's on July the 28th, and a lot of people in the northern latitudes will be going on their vacations in August. And the Jupiter influence is the traveling, the optimism, the outgoingness. On Friday the 29th, the moon continues in exuberant, fiery Leo, and the 8 a.m. till about 10 a.m. Pacific time, now the moon will be in tension with impulsive Mars. Around noon to 2 p.m., now the moon's in tension with erratic Uranus. So this morning, from early morning, early afternoon, Pacific time, there could be a lot of emotional anxiousness. It could be, let's look at the positive because of the new moon with Jupiter. You could be really excited that you're going, and it's Friday, and you're making plans to go away for the weekend, or you're going on your vacation, and you're just you can't focus because you're just so excited. On the other hand, though, this would not be a good period, the good first part of the day, to be having business meetings or trying to have a heartfelt conversation because you're too restless, nervous, and anxious. But you might just be overly excited. On Saturday, the 30th, the moon is going to be void of course as we wake up until 11 a.m. Pacific time, at which point the moon that represents the public reaction goes into more sensible Virgo. Leo, when the moon was in Leo and that new moon is in Leo, it's all this exuberance and being outgoing and playful. As the moon now goes into Virgo, it's time to get back to our work tasks, cleaning up the house, doing all the shopping. Those are typical things of Virgo, of just being very sensible, accomplishing all the work tasks. And you don't want to start anything important, like I've said many times, with the moon void of course, till 11 a.m. Pacific time, because there's just not enough energy to follow through for any success of what you were, if you were promoting something or starting something new. The very next day on Sunday, the 31st, the sun will be in the best flow of energy twice a year to expansive Jupiter. So all those plans and hopefulness that was being planted with the new moon on the 28th, on the 31st, on Sunday, you could start really feeling that all this is starting to play out. Maybe that's when it's Sunday and you're taking off on your trip, or you're starting to make all these long range plans. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.